So I can already tell the series is going to be quite controversial. And I can already feel the comments that will arise because of this theory, but don't get mad at me since all this information is found in the new Magic Book of Spells, and I don't feel like I made the biggest jumps in logic to get to this conclusion. But you can make your own conclusions once I present all the evidence. I just finished reading the new Magic Book of Spells that was released, and let me just say, Darren Nefsey was right about this being Star vs. Force Evil Season 3.5. There is so much to talk about here, and this is just the tip of the iceberg, and you can expect at least a few more Star videos to tide you over while we wait for the new season next year. Like I mentioned in the previous Star video I did with MYKAL, I definitely recommend getting this book. It's only $20, or cheaper if you get it on Amazon, and you can tell so much work was put into it. It even has a Gravity Falls vibe, since there are sentences written in low Mewni, which you basically have to use a key to figure out what is being said. Pretty neat. So anyways, back to the topic at hand. What you need to know about this book is that it is basically a journal for every queen that has been in power since Queen Skywin. So you get to hear a lot about their personal lives and their accomplishments, as well as any challenges that they faced during their role. And let me just say, a lot of them did not really want to find a king, and were more or less forced to do so because it was expected of them, or it would be politically a smart move. So this brings me to Queen Rena the Riddled. Each queen kinda has a theme, and hers was being really into puzzles and riddles. And she is, if I counted correctly, Star's great-great-great-grandma. So she was around quite a few generations ago, and like many of her predecessors, she wasn't really interested in love. But she knew what was expected of her, and biological offspring were necessary to keep the royal line going. Of course, we all know Festivia's deal, but we aren't going to go into that right now. So she came up with a spell called the spell to make yourself fall in love with someone when you don't want to fall in love with anyone, period. Her spells were often quite a mouthful. But regardless, the spell would make the user's heart actually grow 2 sizes, which somehow translates into them wanting to fall in love. And she decided to use it on herself. Now here's where things get interesting. The book says that she went on a blind date with Lord John Rochely, who happened to be a second cousin to the Lucitors, and this appears to be when she used the spell on herself. He was said to be really tall, played 7 different instruments, spoke 20 languages, and liked making up limericks. But it seems things took a dark turn since she made a spell to break a demon's heart. And not just like make them sad, but literally break it so he would die. And I don't blame her, as the answer to this riddle about the demon is a cruel husband. But as a result of this spell, she becomes a widow. And you know what she says in the very next sentence? She is about to give birth to a baby, who will be the next Queen of Mewni. This is of course Selena. And there is no mention of who the father of Selena actually is. But with the context of the last few pages, we can safely assume that Lord John, the demon, is the father. This may have been what Selena was hiding for all her life. So that's why Selena is so shy, covers her hands, face, as well as most of her body, and has extremely long hair. She could have been concealing the demon aspects of her, much like Miss Haynes tried to do, since she is half monster. Will this be addressed in the show proper? Probably not, as Star basically says she skipped past this portion of the book because she hates riddles. However, she did read Selena's chapter and was disappointed at the lack of secrets. Perhaps this was too big of a secret for Selena to even put in the spellbook. And with that, there are quite a few ramifications of learning about this. First off, it means that if Lord John was in fact Selena's father, then Star would be part demon, although since it's been quite a few generations since then, it's not much. So Star having that horn headband now makes a lot more sense. But likely, the more disturbing conclusion that could be made from this is that if Lord John was a second cousin to the Lucitors, then it makes Star distantly related to the Lucitors, and therefore to Tom. And that's very conflicting, and I guess a Game of Thrones parallel could be made there. Although I should note John was already a second cousin and Selena was Star's great-great-grandmother, but it's still very questionable. Although since John was a second cousin, maybe he was already a demon hybrid, but the point still stands. I'm very confused on why they'd go out of their way to make Lord John related to the Lucitors. Perhaps they were hinting at how Tom Star will not be the end result of the show. Or maybe it's just to show that there is no such thing as pure royalty anymore. Star isn't technically royalty, but like Meteora, she isn't fully Mewni. Now of course there seems to be nothing wrong in Mewni for a Mewni marrying a demon, but to specifically make her related to the Lucitors is a weird choice. What do you guys think about this? The evidence makes things pretty clear, but like I said, I don't know if this will ever be addressed in the show. Let me know in the comments down below, and make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. If you like what we do, please consider supporting us on Patreon, and you can get a shout out and other cool perks if you do so. We do have a few more things planned relating to this book, so stay tuned.